Today we'll be talking about parallel and perpendicular lines. So everyone should know what a parallel line is. Okay, they're just two lines that don't meet. Okay. Um, so a key thing to note is that parallel lines have the same gradient. Okay, that's all you need to know. Say for example, we have these two lines. Okay, y-axis is 2x plus 1 and y-axis is 2x minus 5. So these are parallel because their gradients are both 2. Okay. But if you had these two lines, y equals to 5x plus 3 and y equals to 4x minus 1, these are not parallel, right? Because this one has a gradient of 5 and this one has a gradient of 4. Okay, with that being said, let's go through a question that you might see. So here it says, find the equation of a line which is parallel to y equals to 3x minus 1 and passes through 0, 4. So if you don't know what this is, m stands for gradient and the b stands for the y-intercept, okay? In this question, I know that parallel lines must have the same gradient. And so since this gradient right here is 3, I know that m is going to be equal to 3. Okay? And so what we have right now is that y equals to 3x plus b. Now, we're not done here because we need to figure out what b is. And to figure out what b is, right, I know that this line right here, which I don't know the exact numbers to, pass through 0 and 4. Why is this important? Because I know 0 and 4 are x and y coordinates. Okay, so this is x and that's y. These two. And so since these are x and y, I see that there's a y here and there's an x here. So I can actually sub these numbers in. So I'm just going to do that. So y is 4 and x is 0. Okay? And so what you realize, right, is this is an equation. And it's a very nice equation because uh, here I'm going to be left with 4, 3 times 0, that's just 0, plus b. And I know that b is equal to 4. Okay? And so since I know what b is, I can substitute that back into here. So the final answer then becomes y equals to 3x plus 4. Okay? All right, let's talk about perpendicular lines. So this one's a bit different because perpendicular lines, the rule's not the rule's not the same. So here, right, it tells us that perpendicular lines have gradients where m1 times m2 equals minus 1. So that's just saying the two gradients of the lines, right, when you times them, they must equal to minus 1. Okay? Or m2 equals to minus 1 over m1. And I'll explain what that is. Okay, so we have a question here that says, find the perpendicular gradient of m1 equals to 5 over 2. Okay? Now, this isn't so hard. So I've written a second dot point, right, that says, when finding a perpendicular gradient, get the reciprocal and make it negative. But let me explain what a reciprocal is. Say, for example, we have 5 over 2, and we want the reciprocal. So the reciprocal is just a fraction flipped. Okay, so in this case, right, it would be 2 over 5. And just for another example, like let's say you had this fraction, 3 over 4. Reciprocal is 4 over 3. Okay, so it's just the fraction flipped. All right, so when I'm finding the perpendicular gradient, I'm going to write m2. I'm going to flip 5 over 2. So that would be 2 over 5. And if you look at the second step, it says to make it negative. Okay, so you just put negative in front of it. Now let's say we had this gradient, m1 equals to minus 7 over 4. I'm just going to write m2 here. So same thing, you want to flip this, okay? And then you want to make it negative. Now, since there's a negative here, right? If you don't know already, two negatives make a positive. So I can just leave it like that, 4 over 7. And that's the perpendicular gradient. All right, so let's look at this perpendicular question. So let's say a question asks you to find a line that's perpendicular to y equals to 3 over 4x minus 1 and pass through the point 3 minus 2. So same thing as the parallel lines question. I'm going to be using this formula right here. And this formula as well. So what we know, right, is that the gradient of this line is 3 over 4. Okay? And so what I can do, right, to find the perpendicular gradient is I can just make this negative and flip it. So I want to make this negative. 3 over 4 flipped. That's just 4 over 3. Okay? And so what we know right now is that the equation looks like this. But we don't know what b is, okay? We don't know this thing. But we can actually find it, just like the previous question, because we know that 3 minus 2, right, are the x and y coordinates. Okay? And so I can replace this y right here and this x right here with these two numbers. And just to finish this off, I'm going to substitute minus 2 into here. So minus 2 equals minus 4 over 3 times, and I'm going to substitute this 3 into this x. Okay? And then plus b. And then I'm going to solve this equation. So we have minus 2 equals to minus 4 over 3 times 3. That's just minus 4 plus b. And I can finally solve it by bringing this minus 4 over. Okay? So then we have b minus 2 plus 4. That's just 2. And so the final equation, since I have this b, I can bring it back into this b. So we have y is equal to negative 4 over 3 x plus 2. And that is the final answer. Okay, so that's it for parallel and perpendicular lines.